All right. So it is what? What's the date today?
Fourth.
Saturday, April 4th. So this is like a week since you've been in America,
Mm-hmm.
in the United States. So uh, let's see, where did we leave off last time? Is basically you had checked into the clinic, so they knew you were there. You're now at your accommodation. Um, so what has the last week been like for you?
Yeah, so the last time we talked, I'd had blood tests and I had an initial contact with them to set up the time frame for the following week. It started off on Monday. I had to get a PICC line put in, a peripheral catheter, which then goes into my
Okay.
arm here and all the way into my top of my heart, and that's where they put the IV treatment into there. And so that was in hospital on the Monday morning. And at the same time, I started a whole lot of sample collection of stool and blood and swab tests to get quite an extensive array of assessments. So blood tests came back, the other tests got sent off. Very pricey to send samples from one place in America to another place. It was very expensive. But anyway, that was the Monday. And then I came in on the Tuesday and we started doing IVs. We started putting IVs straight into the body. So it sort of started in earnest there in terms of starting to feel the effects of treatment. Nothing's been onerous in terms of the treatment for the week, but certainly it tires you out because your body's doing a whole lot of stuff it hasn't done for a long time in terms of detoxing various things from your body. A day normally looks like about 9 a.m. I get into the clinic. I'm there at the moment. There was other people last week receiving the similar treatments to myself, the autoimmune treatment that they offer, and some pretty serious situations, but all people really positive. So you get in there at 9 a.m. They do a full range of tests in terms of testing your blood pressure. They make sure that your PICC line is filtered and that it's still flowing because it can block up. You've got to keep flushing it every day. And they take your weight, and so they monitor all your vitals really every day so that they can see if there's any significant changes going on with you, which is really cool to see, to be honest.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And then they stick you on to your first IV for the day, and that can be a variety of things. In a day, I will have 4 or 5 IVs, and it'll take half an hour for each one to go in. So I'm just sitting in a chair with this PICC line hooked up. And part of that is I'll also go and sit in a hyperbaric chamber for an hour, and they'll take me down to pressures, and that's just helping to oxygenate the body. A lymphatic device, they have a lymphatic device, which is the LymphStar Pro, which you stick under the various lymphatic spots of your body, which just electrically activates those areas to get them flowing better, and then jump onto a I don't know, a wobble board. I can't remember the name of it, but essentially a vibration table where you stand on, and that is used for activating your lymph system and getting that muscular strength in your system.
Yep.
One of the things that they did come back with is that my bone density is below average for what my age is. It needs to come back up to a healthy level. And
Huh.
so that vibrating machine helps to strengthen the body and the muscles. I think you mentioned you've experienced that in your own life using those
Hmm.
types of devices. And so that's just helping to reestablish that strength in the body as well as all of the other IVs that are going in. So yeah, hyperbaric IV and lymphatic system. I also had a foot bath, which detoxes the body. So you put a salt bath, and you put your feet into a salt bath, and that has an electrical charge that goes into it at certain frequencies, and that brings the toxins out of your body. And as that comes out, the various colors represent various stages of your toxin release from your system. So it can help to remove heavy metals from your body and various other things that don't need to be there. At the moment, it showed a lot of gallbladder stuff coming out of me in terms of the color of that, which is a green. There's a rusty orange, which shows visceral fats and joint toxins as well. And so all of us are carrying toxins from our environments that we live in, because we live in a toxic world. We've created this toxic world. It's nothing to be fearful of, but what are we doing in our daily lives to get those toxins out? And so what I'm doing at the moment is an intense detox. and making sure that I maintain the lifestyle I've had before these treatments, afterwards, and that's eating clean, making sure I go for walks, exercising, meditating, all that sort of stuff. And so that's pretty much what's happened the whole week. Every day I'll go in and do those things. Now what's happening is we're upgrading the system in terms of the testing and the detox. And there's various things that they do in R-SODA, which is a urine therapy, and then there's some OnDemand, which is an electric device, or bioresonance is another terminology, which helps the organs find different frequencies, and a couple of other treatments that are coming next week that'll be full on. And then they're advising me that don't be concerned. Well, not don't be concerned. Be aware that there may be fluctuations in how I'm feeling throughout the week. And talking to other people who've been through this process already, they say there'll be days you feel like absolute rubbish in terms of your body's just having a massive detox, so everything's coming out. But you might wake up the next day and feel $1 million because your body's just got rid of a whole lot of stuff. So that's the first week I had was a preliminary week, just getting myself used to the treatments and detoxing what they can with the chelation and IVs. This week, the 4 rounds that they said I was going to be doing start on Monday, and that'll be 4 rounds for the next month, which will be the intensive stuff. And so I'll start to see variations in how I feel and look. Yeah, so that's what happened. In terms of how I've been outside of that, I get real tired in the afternoons, and because my body sleep patterns are out of whack as well, I'm still recovering from jet lag, and then also I have to take supplements every 4 hours, so I'm waking up through the night. So still a bit out of disjointed with all my activities, but getting into that routine. So making progress. I feel a lot better. My body feels better. It's just I get tired pretty easily, which is a normal thing apparently. So not concerned at all.
Do you know what is in the IVs?
I do.
I mean, I'm sure they tell you, but is it something that you can speak outside of like the medical jargon?
I can't at the moment because I've got given this. This is your treatment plan, so it's a folder full of stuff, and I literally where I've been to this week is I just haven't had time with all the stuff you got to do, and then the tiredness afterwards to go through it all. But what I have done is got my head around a lot of the minerals and supplements. I'm taking like 30 supplements a day. So she's pretty intense, and even then I don't know all of them, but I know a lot of them around minerals to restore the body, vitamins to help the body, some agents to help chelate, iron supplements to keep the body established. There's a lot, and digestive enzymes to help the body digest the food and absorb it better. So a lot of that stuff. In terms of the specific IVs, the only one I can tell you off the top of my head is vitamin C, and that's a pretty standard treatment for alternative practitioners. The other ones, I don't know yet, but I know they help with chelation. But as I go through and figure out more and read more, I'll understand what they are. A lot of it, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say a lot of it at the start at the moment is to try and aid the body to release some of those heavy metals that are in there. And I've got quite a high dose of mercury, aluminium, cadmium, and barium. I think it is the 4th one. So those are pretty heavy metals. So just starting to release those. The other thing I found out, which is unexpected, was I just found out my lungs aren't probably working as fully as they could. I shallow breathe, and that's just requiring me to. The oxygen therapy is helping a lot, but also when I meditate, just to make sure I breathe deeper so that I'm getting the oxygen into my body to help the healing process.
When you're at the clinic, whether it's in the chamber or being hooked up to the IVs, what are you doing? I mean, are you reading? Are you meditating during this time? What are you doing? Yeah, activity-wise, while this is happening.
So I'm in a room. So you go into your IV room, which is there's enough room for 6 other patients in there, or 5 other patients, 6 including me, and your partner, your support person. And so you get in there at 9 a.m. in the morning. They do their initial IVs to get you flowing and started. And often it's just communicating with the other people in the room about what they've experienced, because that's a lot of information sharing is going on.
Sure.
as you do the different therapies, the IV ones you're in the one room, but as you do the hyperbaric chamber, you got to go into another room and you sit in the chamber for an hour. What I do, some people find it very difficult in these chambers. These chambers are quite large. They're about 1 meter in diameter, so they're pretty serious. The other ones I've been in have been a lot smaller, so you can feel quite claustrophobic. But in these ones, you lay there. You can't take anything metal in with you, so there's no phones or anything like that, but you can take a book in, people read. I just tend to meditate, so I focus on my breathing, just making sure I'm breathing nice and deep. And then if I need to, I'll just think of an issue that I want to work on in my life. And so in my own situation, I've just been thinking about my future, what I would like that to look like. Also relationships that I've had, what have they, close relationships, what have they been like, and what have been the things that I feel that I've contributed to those to make them fall over, and then just generally trying to be grateful for what's actually happening to me and for my whole life. So that's the hyperbaric chamber. The lymphatic treatments, you go into a separate room and you lay on a table and they just put these diodes under your arms and you just lay there. And so they get changed every 6 minutes by the nurse. And so you kind of have a few minutes to think about things and then just go back into, and then they'll come in the room. So you'll chat about what's going on with the treatment and then you'll go back off into your own land and come back in. And so when you're back into the IV room, I try to read the book, but interestingly, when you're receiving the IVs, sometimes it's very difficult to concentrate. I have found it difficult to concentrate and take things in. But one of the things I love about this clinic is the atmosphere they create is cool. Like the people are just really lively and happy. And when you go into the IV room, you wouldn't think that people are in this room fighting for their lives, and there are. But these people are happy. We're sharing stories. We're talking about the world because it's easy to do while you're getting this treatment. Because it's very hard to concentrate and learn and try and take new material in. People there sitting with the Bible, reading the Bible, verses from the Bible. One of the other cool things is that the people's knowing of a higher power, whatever you want to call that, gets very strong. And even for me, my connection to whatever this creative force is has got stronger. So you can talk freely about what have you experienced, how's it all come about. And one of the things that did pop up this week in our conversation was talking to different people about why did you choose to come to Dr. Buttar's clinic, the Clinic for Advanced Medicine and Clinical Research. Why did you choose there? And they said, when you go to conventional medicine, it's very much out of your hands. You just get this and that's it. And it just doesn't fill you with a sense of ease that this is the right thing to do. And that's what I experienced was, you guys are telling me this stuff and none of this feels right. And it really challenges me to go, that's the solution. So what they talked about was this peace that comes with decision making. And so when they did some research on Dr. Buttar, and generally they had a series of synchronistic events that led them to Dr. Buttar and his clinic. It's not just this clean-cut decision to go, but they've had contact with him in the past and forgot about it, and all of a sudden another opportunity popped up. And what a lot of them said was there was just this peaceful feeling. They go, do I go down the traditional chemo, radiation, surgery route, or do I go to Dr. Buttar? And they go, it feels better to go to Dr. Buttar, the peace that comes from the decision making. And that's where I got to. So that was it's not something that's often talked about with decision making, is that internal feeling. We use our logic very much to drive our direction, but there's an internal feeling you go, this feels right or it doesn't, and learning to trust that. So that's it. So that's the day. That's how we do the treatments. That's what I think about. I try not to put any pressure on myself and just allow the day to unfold. And then when I get home in the evenings, I've been getting home around 3 or 4 o'clock. Just try and get my head around the supplementation I've got to take, because every time I do supplements, it's a journey to go through and make sure I've got everything, and then prepare meals. And then by that time, have a shower, clean up, and do some of the other therapies I've got, such as coffee enemas and castor oil packs on the liver. It's a full day, so it's a full-time job. Yeah.
And this will continue for, is it 2 months?
4 weeks is the first round. At the end of the 4 weeks, they do another assessment to see where your markers are at, and that's when you decide if you're doing the next round or not.
Wow. And so the person that is accompanying you, your brother, is he kind of with you the majority of the time at the clinic as well? I mean, aside from things like the chamber and
Yep.
such. Yeah.
Excuse me. So at the moment, because we're both still coming off self-isolation with our flight to the US, so it's now Saturday and we flew in on Thursday. So we've got, what's that, 11, 7, 8, 9 days now under our belt. So we've still got another couple to feel like you're pretty safe. So we've tried to minimize his exposure in the clinic as well. So he hasn't been able to join me very much at all at the first week, but that's okay because I've been more than happy. And I don't, at this point in time, I don't need a lot of support because I'm happy to be here. I'm excited to be in the clinic, meeting these people, wonderful, wonderful new people, which is really cool. So his support's not really needed at the moment. The key thing he's been doing to support me at home is we had a rental car that was going to prove to be astronomical to keep hold of. So he sorted that out, getting that back to the
Mm,
rental agency. Sorting out food's been a real challenge because obviously we've been getting, because of our situation, we've been getting mail delivery, home delivery, and not all the food is available and not all the slots are available. So you've got to be monitoring online all the time to be able to book that slot and get that shopping list in to make sure you can get some food. So he's been doing a lot of that sort of stuff. So that takes a load off me in terms
mm,
of trying to do all that. But next week, when we start doing the more intensive therapies, he'll need to be around a bit more because I'll need him to just help me even get home. So from what I've been told is what can happen. So
mm,
making the best of our situation because I've come from New Zealand, they've rushed me straight into the treatments. Normally, you go in for your first consult, you've got a week or two to get the supplements, figure out what you're doing and how to implement it, and then you go into the clinic. They've thrown me straight into IV therapy straight away, giving me all my supplements. So I'm learning this all on the fly. So having Daryl here to just organise that, my brother,
yeah.
it just makes it a lot easier. Yeah.
Do you, to your knowledge, is anything about your treatment different as a result of the COVID-19 situation? And by that, I mean like the rate at which you get results, blood results, if it has to go to another lab. I mean, is there any kind of delays or interruptions that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of. I've had to send samples off, and I've had to do them overnight, and they still happened overnight with FedEx.
Okay,
And
great.
the blood still came back really quick. So nothing that I know of. The only thing is, as part of the treatment, if you live in the States, there's a different way of living over here than there is in New Zealand. So in New Zealand, we're quite a minimalist society. We're a low wage economy. As over in America, it's a bit more abundant compared to most economies in the world. So you have a lot of the things in your home that you need for the treatment. An example of two things is one is a thermometer. So trying to get a thermometer at the moment is really difficult, but I need that to be monitoring my body temperatures as I go
Mm,
through the treatment. So you can't find them in the shops, and it's difficult for me to get to the stores to buy them. So I've bought them online, and they said they were going to deliver it, on the 3rd of April, I think it was. But anyway, now it's gone out till the end of April. So because of the shipping requirements from China to get the item here. So that's impacted me. So I'm having to find another way to do that. So just on that, I've found a meat thermometer that goes into your roast turkey.
yeah,
So I've
the
got one of
roast.
those, and I'm gonna do that for the short term until the proper thermometers come up, and they'll
Yeah,
come. And then water is a challenge. So
really?
yeah, there's when you go to the supermarkets, the water's empty. There's nothing there. The shelves are empty. Same with toilet tissue. There's none there. So when I need good quality water, I can't just be drinking tap water. And so what we found as a solution to that is that the clinic that I'm at, you can take a gallon of water home each night. And I'll need that to be able to do my shakes and stuff like that. The challenge is I haven't got a big bottle. So what do you do?
Mm,
Well, you buy a bottle of water online. Well, okay, but every time I put an order in for water, it gets taken off. So getting a bottle is the biggest challenge. So I'll be talking to the clinic and figuring out something else to make that work. So yeah, there's two
huh.
examples of how it has affected my ability to access the things that I need to keep doing the treatment properly.
So regardless of, or in spite of the COVID thing, I would still be curious to know how you remain positive while going through this treatment process. But let's add in the COVID situation to that and say, given all of the things that are going on with your body physically, but also with these challenges in your environment, what are some of your personal strategies or techniques for keeping your mindset healthy? Because I would imagine that during any kind of treatment in the physical body, it's so important to have uh, uh, it's important that you are the one directing your attention and your thoughts, rather than sort of outsourcing that. And even more so when there's so many people in the world that are um, facing a crisis.
Yeah, sure. Um, just before I jump to answer that fully, the clinic that I'm going to, like, there's no physical contact, which is really cool. It's pretty
Oh,
amazing how
wow.
they do that. So even when they're feeding me
Wow.
IVs in, they use antiseptic, they use gloves, and they have to get close to me physically, obviously, because they do, but they're not touching me physically. So everything's a transaction where it's not touching bodies. Um, they're very
Wow.
hygienic. They use hand sanitizers and they use antiseptic wipes and stuff like that. And so I'm not touching anybody. And then just my basic protocols is when you go into the building, all the doors are automated. If I have to go through a stairwell, I make sure I press with my arm and don't touch them, and then go and wash my hands as soon as I get in there. So it's all those protocols. If I'm sneezing into your shoulder, that sort of thing. So that's just basic hygiene, to be honest. They're not asking us in this world to be anything more than a superhero and have all these wonderful practices, but it's just basic hygiene that as you taught when you're younger. But in terms of COVID-19 and my mental approach with this, I'm not really fearful of COVID-19. Don't get me wrong. When I jumped on the airplane to fly to the States, I was going, oh, okay. So for what I've learned, people with underlying health conditions are the most susceptible to having COVID-19. But
Hmm.
I kind of, I thought, well, it's not an issue for me. It's not an issue for me because I know I clean my hands properly. I know I keep my distance. I don't sneeze over people. I don't let other people sneeze over me. And I'm normally the type of person that doesn't like to be in crowds. So there's a safety barrier by just being, if there's a crowd there, I'll stand at the back and keep away and just keep an observation of what's going on and move through safely. So there's those basic things that I've always done in my life just because of my personality. In terms of the mindset, when I jumped on the aeroplane, so as we entered the airport and we get to the boarding lounge, you're sitting there and you're going, we're all keeping our distance. We've got masks on and gloves on. And then we jumped onto the airplane and you're sitting beside each other and you're face to face with people. You can't avoid bodily contact. And so I went, well, I can be fearful of this or not, but I know that fear is one of the biggest things that contributes to poor health. Because when you're in a fearful state, and this is epigenetics, when you're in a fearful state, your cellular function can't function properly. And that's the absorption of nutrients and the excretion of waste. If it can't do that properly, then yeah, you're in trouble. Now, I know through all the work that I've done over the last 2 years with my health journey, I've instilled a practice of focusing on the positive stuff. So I can't control COVID-19. If it comes on to me and I get it, then I'm not that worried about it either, because I know I've got a great immune system and I know I'm probably in the best place I can be with all these IVs and stuff to clean me out every day. But I also know that if it comes into me, it doesn't mean you're dead. There's a lot of fear around this COVID-19 that if you've got it, you're dead. And that's not the case. There are hundreds of thousands of people that are surviving. The death rate is high, but they're talking about 1 or 2%. They're not talking about 50% of people dying. Maybe that might
Yeah.
change over time. So being aware of what they're presenting on TV when you watch the news and the mainstream media and going, well, how does that actually fit with me? What aren't they presenting? Because I find the media is trying to dramatize it and sensationalize it. So I let go of what they're telling me and try and interpret it with what I know. And that's what you do, the same thing. I've seen you do that with me in conversations. So that's the outside influence. What I did change is earlier in the week, I did get thrown into a situation where there was a lot of controversy around and a lot of censorship through Facebook and YouTube, because the clinic that I'm working at is possibly being controversial, and that they're trying to present a different way of perspective to this COVID-19 issue. I got quite caught up in that, and I went, I can't do this. I just physically can't do it because it doesn't make me
Yeah.
feel very good. So what do? I need to step back from that. I have an awareness of it, and I watch videos when I feel it's the right time to watch videos, not when I need to know everything so I can sort it all out, because I can't.
Hmm.
I already know the underlying concepts of these videos and the COVID-19 approach. It's just the detail I don't have, so I don't need to go exploring. So I've satiated my mind enough to go, I've got a grasp of what's going on. But I'm here to heal. So why
Yeah.
would I want to spend my life bringing up drama that I can't change that's going on around me in the world? And where I'm living, the accommodation in the clinic, it's a beautiful little town. We've got big bushy trees, nice lawn, mowing lawns with big thick grass, fresh air blowing through every day, and a beautiful sunny days. So that's what I'm focusing on, because that's the stuff that makes me happy. That's the stuff that goes, oh, it's nice to be here. So, you know, as I go out for walks every day, there's a big heron. I don't know what the type of heron it is. I've never seen one so big. In New Zealand, ours are about, about yay tall. This heron's about a meter tall, and when it gets up and flies, it's just beautiful. So
Wow.
that's what I focus on, and these new animals and birds and sounds, and that's it. And people can say to me, and I've kind of had people say this to me, well, you're just putting your head in the sand. No, I'm not. If you want to choose to focus on the fear and the drama that's going on in the world, by
Mm.
all means, that's your choice to do that. But I don't want that. I want a happy life and a healthy life. So I choose to focus on what makes me happy. It's a choice,
Hmm.
and most people don't realize they have a choice in what they can focus on.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. And choosing to focus on things that you can't change also seems incredibly redundant to me, especially when mental real estate is like our most prized commodity. So why would I want to spend? Why would I want to use that uh, real estate on things that I have absolutely uh, no ability to influence or change? Um, so on a positive note, um, or sticking with this theme of being positive, in 4 weeks when you are assessed, I mean, what is the best case scenario that you could expect from the first 4 weeks of treatment?
I'm clean as, in terms of I'm healthy. All my markers come back good. They don't do MRIs or CT scans there. That's something outside of the clinic. But
Okay.
if your immune function's up and running properly, your lymphatic system's running properly, your nutrient absorption process is running properly, and all the systems they measure, if your bodily systems are all working, then the cancer, if that's the term I want to use, because it's not what I've got, um, when all those systems are working properly, your body's going to shed anything that's in there. And
Yeah.
so, best case, most likely scenario is I get to the end of the 4 weeks and I'm all good. I get to go home. That's what I feel is the most likely scenario. Now it'll take time to get to that point and have the evidence to support that, but that's what I feel. Um, so the best case scenario is I'm right as rain and my body has gone through a healing transition in those 4 weeks. No signs or symptoms of anything that I've got and that I've had over the last year or so. No signs and symptoms, and so therefore I'm good to go and go and live my life as I want to. That's the best case.
Hmm. So in the simplest terms, then, would it be fair to say that the treatment that you're getting right now um, is specific to um, reactivating systems within your body um, so that they're um, so that the body is able to heal itself?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
very much so. And so the toxins in our body stop our body from firing properly, stops it from working properly. And so our autoimmune system's been compromised. And my situation, my autoimmune was compromised because of the mental state I've been living my whole life in. in terms of being with toxic shame and depression, and not that I've been diagnosed with that, but I spent a lot of time unhappy, being fearful of the world. So my mental state affected my body. The food I was putting into my body through the processed meats that I was eating, the takeaway foods, the fast food that I was eating, which all contributed to putting additives and preservatives and all that sort of stuff into my system that reside in the system and stay there. They don't flush out. They stay there, and that affects your ability of your body to fire properly, to work properly and release the toxins. So yes, the process is to restate all those systems back to normal and allow your body to just go, thanks very much, I've had enough of this disease, and heal from there. Now, conventional medicine doesn't believe that your body can heal from it. If you have a miraculous healing, they'll consider it an anomaly. Whereas, and so that goes against my belief system, because I believe the body can heal. It does it all the time. If you cut yourself, it heals up. Why? It didn't take any involvement from the medical system. So the
Yeah.
way I look at it is, inside my body is this issue that's going on. If I give it everything it needs, the body's going to go, thanks very much, I can sort that out, healed. And that's what I've heard from other cancer survivors. You get your immune system sorted out, your microbiome, and your body will just deal with it and get rid of it. And also, the cancer, the diagnosis I received, says that it was an emotional issue. Now, this is not from the doctors, but this is from other research. It's the emotional life that I was leading, that I was hanging on to my shit, to put it simply. And so if I can't release it, then I'm never going to be healthy. So I'm learning emotionally to let go of stuff, and then my body's been supported to let go of the cellular function, to let go of the waste and the excretions, to be able to be fully healthy.
Hmm. At the clinic, um, is there any component of education in regards to this, in regards to what you're saying right now, which is that if you can, because I'm just trying to picture people come to the clinic, their immune system gets recharged, or their autoimmune system gets recharged. Are they leaving there with the knowledge that they can be proactive in keeping themselves at that sort of um, state where their body can continually be healing itself?
Yeah, sure. So as part of the treatment, there is I'm hesitant to use the term, but I'll use it, a psychological process to it, where you go through and
Okay.
start to identify what sort of perspective you have on the world, and they
Oh,
have
awesome.
a device that they can measure that and show you a graph that shows you um, how you express in this world. So that's going to be interesting. I haven't had that treatment yet, and I don't know fully about it. I just had a quick glance through the binder last night. So that's one aspect of it. Dr. Batar, when you sign up to the clinic,
Great.
you get a whole lot of videos. It's not a, right, here's, I'm going to sign up and come up and next week and pay my money, and I'm going to go through the process. There's a process you go through before you even get to sign up. One is you have a consult to say, well, here's my records, have a chat with the doctors. Two is they give you a whole lot of videos about what it means to be autoimmune compromised, what it means to have detoxification, what it means to have heavy metals in your body. So you're getting the education before you even get here.
Okay.
I was lucky because I had learned a lot of that before I got to even being able to approach Dr. Batar's clinic, because just because of the people I've met and the work that I've done and my underlying belief issues before I got diagnosed, knew that a lot of my problems were emotional. So I did that. So yeah, no, he does. The clinic does provide a lot of support for you. In terms of, I've gone a long way beyond what the clinic does, though, just on my own self. But I'm not saying you can't get it from the clinic. It'll open your eyes. The people that I was talking to are in the clinic. Some of the discussions they had and the videos that Dr. Batar puts out challenge their ways of how they view the world. And they acknowledge that. And they go,
Mm,
oh, we've actually got more responsibility in our own lives than we realized. And we also, we're giving our power away to other people to tell us what to do. And it's not, I don't think that last point's a specific objective of the clinic, but it's about being, helping you to be consciously making decisions about what health means to you and who provides that health to you. That to me was the biggest thing in my whole journey, because I had to learn to make the decisions that are going to that I have to be responsible for my decision. So I make a decision to choose not to go down the medical approach in the Western world. I chose a different path. I have to be happy with anything that comes out of that. Whether I live or die, I have to be going, I have to be aware that I made that conscious decision to live my life the best way I could. And that's something I had to learn and become comfortable with. So that is something that will be, as you go to the clinic, you will be experiencing that
Mhm.
decision-making criteria.
So best case scenario in 4 weeks, um, you know, you get these the results that you're after. Can you see at all how you might do things uh, differently with regards to, you know, as you've just said, taking responsibility for your health? Like, what are some of the things that you can see yourself doing differently moving forward?
So with this whole journey, one of the biggest things, another bigger thing that I've found is I'm more decisive now, because I know time's limited. You don't know how much time you've got on this planet. You don't know how long your life's going to be. So in the past, before I got diagnosed and went through this process of change, I would dilly-dally on decisions, and I'd let other people influence how I make decisions or what I'm going to do. Now, if it doesn't bring me joy, I don't do it. So going forward, the plan is like, oh, I don't need a massive house. I just want somewhere to live where I'm in a rural environment and I've got the ability to be self-sufficient. I want to have the clean water. I want to have the low EMF electrical frequencies around me. I want to have um, uh, time outside where I can meditate every day, a space to be able to do yoga and be healthy every day, and then fill myself up with meaningful information that brings me joy and follow what I want to do in my life. That's the decisive thing that's going to come out of this recovery. Is just moving forward and doing that as I leave. Um, so I, I've been working through that as I do my treatments. Now, one point you touched on the question about what do I do during the treatments that I'm getting. When I was getting the PICC line put in, you go into a hospital and they put it in, and it cost me $1,000 to get this thing put in. And I'm lying on the table and they put in all the sterilization around the instruments and the machines because I'm laying on an x-ray table. And I got quite emotional because in some sense, I see this line as a violation of my body, because I'm going, I should be better than this. I should be better than this, and that I shouldn't be needing this treatment. I'm a healer, done energy healing for a lot of my life, and I've been eating the right things, and I've been meditating, and I've been doing all this sort of stuff. So I got quite emotional in there, and then I realized that's not actually healthy. I'm on a path that is my own path. It's 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 already laid out for me from decisions I've made for in my life 20 years ago. It's not a This is not a, oh my gosh, overnight I've got cancer and therefore I've got to go down this path. By no way is that the case. This originated years ago in my life. So I've got to work through the process as it unfolds. When I was lying on the table, started to get emotional. I go, hang on a minute, what's the benefit of this? The benefit is this. Primarily, I don't have to judge myself so much. I've been really very difficult judging myself in my life. Oh, you didn't do this right. You should have got better marks at the university. You should have got promoted faster. I'm 44. I should have a house. I should have a wife and kids. All this judgment that I've got in my head. But what I've been learning is that when I'm talking to other people and my friends and people I meet, and I'm very willing to say, look, you're on the right path. Don't worry about it. You know, you've made decisions. Life's going good. Just don't beat yourself up. So I can say that to other people, but whether I believe it or not is a different story. So I'm learning to not be so judgmental on myself. This is where I am. The other thing that's come up an issue is just the cost of it. Like it's probably close to 40. This first round is closer to $50,000 US for treatment. Now, before the COVID-19 pandemic hit, I was looking at probably having to pay about $70,000 to $80,000 for each round, New Zealand. Now, with the exchange rate doing what it's done, it's nearly 1.8 is the exchange rate. So $50,000 times 1.8, I'm looking at nearly 100 grand New Zealand dollars to pay for this treatment. So that's a challenge. And I'm going, what a waste of money. I could buy a house, I can buy a car, I can buy all these devices that I've learned about in terms of keeping medically healthy. And I can get stuck in, I got stuck in that fear earlier in the week, and I just went, no, that's not the case. I'm in the moment. In the moment, I'm happy. The sun's shining. I've got food in my mouth. I've got people around me to support me. That's what's good. That's what's good. And so the money is the money. I can always earn that back. And the money I'm investing in myself. There's nothing wrong with doing that. So
Yeah.
so that's the mindset that comes up sometimes. So just being less judgmental on myself and be more accepting and forgiving of myself. So that's the emotions that have come out. Yeah.
You brought up a really interesting point there about being on the table and having an emotional response. And emotions, being essentially connected to memories of our past. Um, and from a psychosomatic perspective, I mean, have there been other instances so far in your treatment where you found yourself having emotional reactions to things that were physically happening with your body? And for that matter, how have you seen that, even in the last 2 years of your journey? Like how intimately has your emotions been um, affected by how your physical body is dealing with things?
So when I first got diagnosed, I was trying to work, have a job, and I thought I was in a relationship, and a relationship that I thought was, the woman I was going to marry and move forward in my life. And then I had the health situation as well. So all aspects of my life were getting challenged in that moment. It took me a year of really destructive thoughts in my own mind before I realized what I was fully doing. I can read the material in terms of when you meditate, you allow and forgive and all that sort of stuff. But I didn't realize I was going through it mentally, but I wasn't actually doing it until I got to a point in about um, October 2019. So about a year into it, um, I was actually reading a book, and it says that you aren't actually healing yourself by focusing on the wrong things. And so the relationship took me a long time to get over. It took me a year to get over that, to the point where I go, it doesn't serve me. I was trying to hang on to it. I was trying to figure out what I did wrong. I was trying to figure out all that stuff. And that's a natural process to go through, to reflect and evaluate what happened. But I kept on revisiting it. I kept on revisiting it. I couldn't let it go. And that was part of my personality before, was to hang on to that. And so when I got to the point where I go, I can't live in that world anymore. This is not making me healthy. And that came about through doing the Dr. Joe Dispenza
Yeah,
meditations. It brought up, if you are focusing on the negative stuff, it's going to affect your health. And I had
yeah,
that realization. So from then on, I decided I was going to let go of that stuff, the stuff that was causing me grief, the stuff that had happened that I couldn't change. Let go of it. Yeah, it comes up every now and then and you work through it, but it no longer has that heavy influence in my life. And then it was in December, when I got diagnosed with a stage 4, when I decided none of that matters anymore. It's just, I've got to love myself and love myself fully. So loving myself fully is not being judgmental of myself, is not to stay in the drama, not to stay in an emotional state that's unhealthy, to focus on the things that bring me joy. That's where I decided I was going to spend my life, and every day have disciplined practices that I do. So one's meditation, the other one was doing Dr. Joe Dispenza's um, first level course, and then Abraham Hicks has courses when you talks about, I think we've mentioned this before, but when you walk down the street, you give appreciation and gratitude for everything. Even Dr. Bruce Lipton talks about giving gratitude. So does Greg Braden. So does Wayne Dyer, Tony Robbins. All these people talk about giving gratitude. So when I started to give gratitude, my emotional state started to lift. Now, death doesn't even cross my mind. That's why when you ask me what's the best possible outcome, I'm good. I'm good. Like I'm good.
Yeah.
I can do this treatment, and if I can't do the second round because of finances, I can go home. I know the treatments now that were happening in New Zealand I can still do. It may take a lot longer to get out of this, but I can still do them. The chelation and the testing that Dr. Bittard does is something extraordinary. So I'm not sure I can replicate that fully in New Zealand, but I have access over here so that when funds come back again, I might be able to jump back over. So
Mm.
my fear is not there. This gratitude and love thing, when I got diagnosed at December 23rd, when I started to love and be grateful for who I am, my whole demeanor jumped a level. So it's like whatever happens, happens. It doesn't bother me because I can still be happy in any situation. So when it comes to this COVID-19, there's no point in being fearful about it. Yeah, there's going to be people die. Yes, it's going to be a massive transformation for our society, but it doesn't have to affect me that way. If I get it, which I doubt I will because I'm so healthy, well, I'll deal with it then. Why worry about it before you get it? Wash your hands, wash your face, stay away from other people. It's simple, but don't get caught up in the hysteria beforehand. And you'll see lots and lots of videos of people telling sob stories, very challenging emotional stories where they've lost family members. I get it. But this could be slightly conspiratorial, but what I'm learning is that just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true. You have no idea if that person's been genuine. You have no idea of the underlying health conditions in those people. You have no idea what that person's experienced before and after that video and what's going on around them to make this video happen. So
Mhm.
you can't trust what's in front of you. You may, if you immediately observe something and take that as the gospel truth, then you're in trouble because that's not the truth. Now, another example of that, and this is statistics. Statistics are so arbitrage. They're so easily manipulated by changing assumptions, and they can be altered to suit anybody's political agenda. Now, I'm not saying they are, but there's a time delay that's occurring with people getting sick between the time they get sick and the time they die. And you're trying to collect numbers from around the world and the United States from 50 different states. There's a time process that's going on here that's got to affect what we're seeing. So I'm not saying they're not good indicators because that's all statistics are, is indicators are never the truth. Um, you've got to be aware of what you're looking at. And so
Mhm.
for me, it's been stepping out of this world of because somebody told me that, that's what it is. It's going, does that make sense to me? No. Do I have enough information to draw a conclusion on it? No. Well, then don't worry about it. Hmm.
You brought up a great point about um, emotionally when you were reliving this relationship uh, that didn't work out the way that you had wanted it to, as you were reliving it over and over, that it was having physiological impact in your life. And in the same way, you know with regards to fear and with regards to the way that fear can fear of this COVID thing. If our body is physiologically responding based on the stories that we are telling ourselves, then it is more important than ever in a time of international crisis that we get a handle on the stories that we're telling ourselves, and to ensure that our the stories that we tell ourselves are not being controlled by a narrative outside of our experience, and that is in no way to sort of downplay um, um, the necessity of at a time of a health pandemic to again be doing the obvious important things like washing our hands and taking the preventative measures that we can to protect those around us and ourselves. But I think it's vital to not be living in that state of fear, because that's not going to physiologically, it's not going to work for us right now. And one of our best defense mechanisms is to keep uh, obviously our physiology up and running. Um,
Just on that, if I can jump in,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I didn't fully answer your question before. I got sidetracked a little bit. But my physical state, when I was in that year of mourning my job, my wealth, my relationship, my body went through some extreme lows. I was green, a yellow green for a year. And
Mm.
in the middle of that year, I got really quite sick. And so I went through that whole process of transition. Then when I decided the gratefulness and the gratitude and love, my body started to respond positively. And the key indicator of that was the color of my skin. I'm almost the same color as my brother, who I use as an indicator for whether I'm healthy or not. And so I've gone from this green yellow in the space of 3 months. It pretty much happened within the first few weeks of changing my mental approach from this green yellow to the pink, the normal, natural, healthy pink. So it definitely has a physiological response. Is that what's going on inside your brain has a physiological response. So yeah, you got to focus on what's positive, and you might not have completeness in terms of resolving everything, but I guarantee if you focus on the positive and keeping yourself happy, the positive things will keep coming into your life. And that's the other thing, the law of attraction, vibration, all that sort of stuff. And I'm very much a proponent of that. And I've had some pretty amazing events happen in my own life, which have just been purely a result of my mental and emotional state. Being positive brings in positive things. If you're negative,
Mm.
it brings in negative things.
Is that kind of the overall attitude of people in the clinic as well? Like when you're talking with other people that are undergoing treatment, are are the majority of them kind of wanting to remain positive as well, or what's your experience like
Yeah,
been with
definitely.
other people?
Definitely. People are very positive. They want to stay positive. They know if they're positive and happy, then they're going to be healthier than they are if they're negative. Um, the extent of that belief, I can't gauge on that in terms of what they believe
Sure.
can come from that. But definitely, we had a conversation where we started talking about politics and what's the purpose of this whole COVID-19 and what's the purpose of wanting to start talking about vaccinations. And that's when it got heavy and people just turned around and said, no, we're not talking about that anymore because that takes us into a lower state. We've got to stay high. So
Yeah.
people are very aware. And I
Oh,
think,
good.
yeah, yeah. And that could be a result of the process you go to before you can come to the clinic. But I suspect these people have always had an inclination towards the natural approaches to healing as opposed to um, Western medicine.
Nice. Well, that's great to hear. It's been wonderful to catch up with you again, and I look forward to hearing from you again, whether it's a few days or a week. We'll
Yep.
determine that based on how things go. But any sort of final comments?
No, just once again, appreciation for your time to make this possible, and the clarity you provide, and just that. Um, I'll try and finish on this. Just that this whole journey has brought about a perspective of who we actually are as human beings, and what are we here to do? It really is to be happy. If you're not happy in your life, then you're not living. You are existing, and existing doesn't work. You've got to be more than existing. This time of COVID-19 with the shutdowns everywhere and the slowdown has given us an opportunity to look at how we live our lives, how the boundaries we have our lives and around our lives, and the expectations we put about what we do in our lives. So if we can start to evaluate those and see whether they are healthy for us, and then start to make changes while you have this time up your sleeve to do these changes, we're going to see a really cool outcome from this whole transitional stage in society. So I just encourage people to look at their own lives, find out where they're not happy, and figure out where they are happy, and find out what they really want to do with their lives, because you never know when it's over.
Hmm.
So just keep going, and the belief that our emotional state drives our physical existence, because everything has to be an emotion or a thought first, then becomes into the physical. So be aware of that and take that forward in anything you do in terms of decision making, and be happy and positive, and it'll show up in your own body.
Well, amen to that.
Hmm.
Hear, hear. So thanks again, Durrick,
Right.
and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Mark, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks.